Hello. This is part one of a three-part series that I'm compelled to present to all those who may be willing to listen as I speak truth to power. I'm addressing my comments to the most far-right Tea Party activists and the most far-left liberal activists and everybody in between. I'm talking to all Americans, black, brown, yellow, and especially white. I'm talking to the most ardent KKK members and the most ardent black nationalists, the people of African, Arab, Latin, Indian, and Asian descent, and all others who found themselves here in this country at this time for whatever reason. We all have to ask ourselves a very serious question. When we hear the far right or the far left talking heads report on what our politicians are saying and doing, are they talking to us, about us, the 95%, or not? The difference has the potential to be disastrous to us and our children for decades to come. Now, I'm a regular man of African descent in my mid-50s. Like many of you, I served my country in wartime, and I have managed, along with my wife, to scratch out an honest living and raise our children. The most we ever made in 1 year of hard work and lots of overtime was right around $100,000. Now, both of us have been working since we were in our mid-20s. We, all of us, are being fooled into believing that the other is a serious threat to us. Now, the pertinent question is, who is trying to fool us and why? Arab terrorism, white racism, black and Latino crime, Indians and Asians stealing our jobs, Mexicans invading our country. Although there are many divisions among and between all of us, the largest and most insidious is the division between the haves and the have-nots. We must begin to understand that the haves are composed of all races, and so are the have-nots. My father used to say that when we point a finger at others, 3 are pointing back at us. The message is ageless and simple, yet profound. He said that we must discover and resolve our own faults and shortcomings, and then we'll be able to stand on firm ground as we work together towards common and universal goals. We are now being led to believe that the President of the United States is either the second coming of Christ or the Antichrist, when in truth, he's neither one. Now, this part is for my white brothers and sisters' consideration. So, the rest of you, please bear with me for a moment. And remember that I'm talking about the haves versus the have-nots. If you are a white person that was working and buying a home, and now you're unemployed and losing or maybe already lost your home, if your car has been repossessed, if your 401k or other saving programs have lost their value and your savings have dwindled away, if you're a single mom struggling to make ends meet and feed your children, if you're a pregnant teenager or a high school dropout, if you live in a city or town where the jobs have long since left, if you're addicted to drugs or alcohol, if the most you've ever made when you were working is $50,000 or $60,000 a year, If you live on a farm under the constant threat of foreclosure, then you are in the same boat as most blacks, Latinos, Arabs, Asians, and Indians. In other words, the rest of the have-nots. The haves want us to believe that if I'm black, then whites, Latinos, Arabs, Asians, and Indians are the reason I can't prosper and get ahead. The haves want us to believe that if I'm white, then blacks, Latinos, Arabs, Asians, and Indians are the reason I can't prosper and get ahead. The haves want us to believe that if I'm Latino, well, you get the picture. Now remember, the haves are composed of all races. The thing they have most in common is greed. It's like an addiction. Too much is never enough. We are fed the grand illusion that if we work hard and save, then we too can be rich. If we come up with an idea or an invention, we too can become wealthy. They point to a select few and say, look at him or her. They did it, and so can you. All the while, they are scheming, writing legislation, and passing laws that corrode the very fabric of American society, pitting each of us against the other and saying, look, it's their fault. They are like petty thieves or pickpockets using misdirection as they remove your wallet or purse. CEOs, CFOs, and others make billions per year, more money than they and the next 10 generations of their children could spend, while the masses of us struggle just to keep a roof over our heads and food on the table. Let me be clear. The majority of us, we don't want a handout. We simply want fairness. Another thing my father used to say, and by the way, my father had a 4th grade education, but his wisdom was boundless. He used to say, we all put our pants on one leg at a time, from the president to the garbage man. And that's no offense to the garbage man. Let me get to the point of my discussion. The top 5% of Americans have more wealth than the 95% at the bottom of the economic spectrum combined. Now, let me say that again. The top 5% of Americans have more wealth than the 95% at the bottom of the economic spectrum combined. Now, is that 95% all black, all white, all Arab, all Asian, or all Latino? Hell no. It's all of us, period. Imagine what would happen if all of us said, we will not be divided by race. We will not be divided by religion. We will not be divided by differences over war, abortion, gay and lesbian rights, immigration, climate change, health care, financial reform, and all the other major problems that we face as a nation. We will come together to solve these problems for the greater good of all Americans, seeking true compromise and, most importantly, fairness. Now, we have to open our eyes and ears when anyone, Democrat, Republican, Independent, or any other talking head speaks to us. Listen for the divisive talk. Listen to hear if they're for the haves or the have-nots. Is what they're Is what they propose going to benefit the 5% or the 95%? Listen, I don't believe in utopia. I know that we will always disagree on the issues that we face in our lives. I know that things don't change overnight, but a journey can't begin without the first step. We have to talk to each other. I mean, really talk to each other and share our experiences. And we'll discover that the white man in Nevada is facing the same problems as the black man in Detroit. The Arab woman in Maryland is dealing with the same issues as the Asian woman in Florida. The Latino teenager is confronting the same obstacles as the Asian teenager, and so on and so on. Imagine every congressperson, every representative, every council person, every governor, every mayor knowing that they are accountable to the 95% and not the 5%. Imagine the president knowing that he or she is accountable to the 95% and not the 5%. Listen, corporations cannot continue to rule our republic by proxy. Corporations are not people. They don't go to bed hungry. They don't freeze in the winter. And they don't pray to a God for strength in hard times. They are heartless, cold, calculating entities that are driven by profit margins and greed. Hard-working miners die deep inside mountains while they're digging out coal. Hard-working oil men die drilling for oil. Mega farmers hire immigrants and pay them a pittance for their labor. The environment is besieged by pollution and spills. They send our call centers and manufacturing jobs to India and Asia. They downsize the workforce and expect the people that are remaining to work twice as hard for the same money. And on top of all of that, they finance Congress, the Senate, and the presidency through lobbyists to ensure that the top 5% will continue to prosper at the expense of the 95%. How long will how long will we continue to be fooled? People in politics, on the radio and television are paid tens of millions of dollars to stir up our emotions, to feed the division, to fuel the hatred, and to distract and misdirect the masses, and all the while they're dancing their way to the bank, knowing full well that they truly don't give a damn about you or me. When the scales are finally lifted from our eyes and we see the truth, then we can stand together against the 5%. We can truly begin to change this country. If we do, then maybe our grandchildren will be able to live the dream of an America of the people, by the people, and for the people. May the God of your understanding bless and keep you. And thank you for listening.